Well, I grew up in South Alabama in a Christian home, and I grew up Baptist. My parents were involved in the church, so I was there a lot. And I knew the Lord early. I was saved at the age of 9. A few years after that, in 1975, my dad died of a stroke in January, and I was driving my aunt to the florist, and a little girl ran out in front of my car and died instantly. She was 4. I remember going through such anguish and thinking, my life is over. I don't know how I can live through this. So many people were praying for me. I remember hearing after weeks later about a little rural Pentecostal church that prayed day and night for me. The days and weeks went on, and the joy returned, and I had just a normal life. So then I got married that summer to my college sweetheart, and then we went on with our lives and our family, and we adopted our Christopher in '81 when he was 3 days old, and then we had 2 other little boys, John and Reed Jr. I remember Christopher's first miracle was when he was 5. He was down the street at a neighbor's house, and he was run over by a car. His leg was run over. His bone was not broken. There was just bruising on the front. So that was just amazing. We were so thankful for that. It could have been so much worse. In 1993, my husband, he had symptoms of MS, but was not diagnosed till 1999. Right after that, he had to go out on disability from Delta and went into a wheelchair not 6 months later. He just progressively got worse. I was taking care of all of his needs, and I was still working. This began a 10-year period of very hard times. My son, Reed Jr., began showing signs of drug and alcohol abuse. He went into Teen Challenge and was there 18 months and was saved. During that time, Rick Sr. kept deteriorating. He lost the use of one limb at a time. And 7 years before he died, he was a total quadriplegic. 2 years before he died, he was on a feeding tube and couldn't hear or speak. At the beginning of 2011, he began getting worse and worse. And by spring, he was in a lot of pain that we couldn't manage. I couldn't manage it at home. Hospice came into the home trying to manage it. They couldn't manage it. They said that he's just at his end and to put him on into hospice. He was there 1 week before he died. He died May 27th, 2011. But I'd reached times when I thought I just could not do it another day, and I didn't know how I would. But I always knew. I always turned to him. I went into his presence and sought him, and he would just lift me up. And I remember him telling me during that time that there was a purpose and to trust him. And it always has been, it just came back all the time. There's a purpose, and I knew there was a purpose, and I just trusted him through everything, through those days. We saw Rick was changed. We thought he was doing better, but after that, he plummeted. He just went spiraling down. He would just pass out from the drugs, and I would ask him, you know, when you'd ask him, did he want to die? Was he trying to kill him? And he always say, I don't want to die. And anybody who knew him knew he loved life. He was happy. He was always joking and laughing. But he was dealing with his pain the best way he knew how. And it just, within a little over 2 months later, he passed away of an accidental drug overdose. All through these 2 months, I just thought, now how am I going to live through this? And I've always known the Lord was with me throughout my life. I've always known He was there. I've always tried to seek Him and pray and read the Bible, even at times when I wasn't exactly living for the Lord in my, before. But during those days, I just spent time in His presence. And I remember I would spend hours and hours. But it was the sweetest time I have ever had. I would have such anguish inside of me. My heart was completely broken. But I had the joy of the Lord. It just bubbled, it just came out, and I would think, this is so unreal. But I could smile and I could even laugh during those times and those days. And not that it was easy, it was hard every day. But it just shows how He's there in our weakness. After Christopher survived, after he lived, and no one expected him to live. They thought he would not live. And he had a punctured lung and lost his spleen, and he was put into chemically induced coma. And during those days, I was the only one that did not know they didn't expect him to live. John talked to the staff and said, "Don't tell my mom anything negative," because of everything that had just happened. So I can remember. But I would go in there every day in the prayer room and have the New Testament playing in there. And I can remember one of my friends who went with me up there every day, and I would always be smiling and happy. And she told me later, she said, "I thought you'd lost your mind. I thought you had finally just lost your mind." But it was just the joy of the Lord again, and the joy just came up. But we made it through that. He walked out of the hospital. That's his second miracle, and we were so thankful. But what I wanted to say is that when we faced that first Christmas of our losses in 2011, we weren't focusing on it. We were focusing on our joy of having Christopher alive. So we were so thankful that he was with us that Christmas. Every holiday is hard. I remember going through the anniversaries of their deaths and the anniversaries and their birthdays, and it's always hard to go through times, that anniversaries like that remind you of everything again. But when you do, Satan's going to try. When you restore, you're beginning to restore, and you see the light at the end of the tunnel, and the sky's open, the sunshine, and you feel like you're going to live and go on. And then Satan tries to put lies in your head. He tries to bring you down because he's here to kill, steal, and to destroy. But that self-pity that will come in again at those times, you have to rebuke it and go back to our source of healing and deliverance and victory. But I want to say, you don't earn this. You don't do anything to earn it. You don't do anything to deserve it. He just is there. And if there's one thing I could get across to anybody, is just to seek Him, and He will do the same for anyone. He will heal the brokenhearted, and He will heal your wounds. The Lord has brought me a wonderful man, and I'm now engaged to be married. He's blessed me with joy again in my life, in my personal life, and I'm very thankful for that. I can go on with life. You can go on with life no matter what you go through, and if you trust Him and seek Him, He can take you through anything.